of today's video is to give you a little bit of background information on something called heel drop, so that then some of the other videos that we're going to be doing very shortly here will make a lot more sense. So this is just kind of a primer course for later videos to follow. So let's talk about shoe construction for a minute. A typical shoe is going to have a higher heel lift to it than it has forefoot lift. Reason for this is just way back when, I think it started actually with the New Balance Trackster in the late 60s, one of the first models to have like a heel wedge underneath it. The idea there was to elevate the heel and throw you forward onto your forefoot a little bit sooner. We know that with typical gait cycle, you're landing on the outside of the heel and then trying to get forward to that big toe as quick as possible. So it was just one of those cases where a little was good and a lot seemed even better. So we got to the point where now we've got about 10 to 14 millimeters of heel versus the front of the shoe. So most shoes will have about 24 millimeters of cushioning underneath the heel, right in the center, and then about 12 millimeters of cushioning underneath the ball of the foot, so up in the forefoot. So that difference between the two is where you get 12 millimeters from, and that's what most shoes are going to adhere to, is about a 12 millimeter drop. In recent years, with the popularity of books like Born to Run, barefoot running, like minimalist shoes and stuff like that, we've started to examine different heel to forefoot differences, so different heel drops. So we've got to the point now where you've got a lot of shoes with lower heel heights to them, and the idea behind that is quite simple. So the lower the heel is, the more likely you are to strike further up on the foot. The higher the heel is, the more likely you are to strike way back on the heel. So while it's true that a higher ramp angle or a higher heel will throw you forward onto your forefoot a little quicker, the lower the heel is, the more likely you are to just start out a little further up on the foot. So striking on either the midfoot or up on the forefoot, further up on the foot, and getting off your foot a little bit quicker. You know, it's just a different type of experience. It's not for everybody. Landing differently and improving your form, it's not for everybody. Everybody wants something a little different, we find. If you are interested in striking a little bit more midfoot or more forefoot, but don't necessarily want to go to something like a barefoot shoe with these Vibram 5 fingers, we can help you do that. We do form clinics. They're free every other Thursday here at the store, starting at 6 o'clock. There's info on them on the calendar. You know, feel free to check that out. So back to heel height for a second though. So we've got a few different shoes that will have lower heel heights to them. This one's the New Balance Road Minimus. This has 4 millimeters of heel to it. This is the Trail Minimus, also 4 millimeters of heel. The midsole itself, so the actual cushion, is a lot thinner in this orange Trail model than it is in the Road model, but there's the same difference between the heel and the forefoot cushioning. It's 4 millimeters in both. Got these Newtons. If you haven't tried these out yet, definitely recommend stopping in sometime to test them out. They're very cool. They're different, but they're cool. These will have about 3 to 5 millimeters of difference between the heel and the forefoot, depending on which model you end up in. And then something like the Vibram 5 fingers, these essentially have 0 millimeters of difference between the heel and the forefoot. So you're just as low back in the heel as you are in the forefoot. And again, I just want to stress that lower heel doesn't mean that you're going to automatically be more efficient or strike further up on the foot. It is something you still have to work on. It's just that having a lower heel makes you more likely to strike further up on the foot and makes it a little easier to strike further up on the foot. But I firmly believe you do still have to do the work on your own as far as changing your form goes to make you a little bit more efficient. And like I said, if that's something you want to do, feel free to reach out to us for any one of the clinics that we've got coming up anytime soon. All right, thanks for stopping by.